Today I want to talk to you about something that holds so many of us back, something that's caused heartache, missed opportunities, and a lot of doubt, and that is the lies we believe about ourselves. The lies we hold on to. It starts so young, doesn't it? Somewhere along the way, something, maybe even just a circumstance, planted this seed of doubt, and from that seed lies grew. Lies that say we're not enough, that we can't succeed, that we're defined by our failures or our past. And slowly, bit by bit, we start believing them. We let these lies shape us, hold us back, and keep us small. But here's what I need you to understand: those lies are just that, lies. The first lie I want to shatter today is this idea that you are defined by your limitations. Listen, each one of us has things that make life hard, sometimes unimaginably so. But those limitations, those hardships, they're not who we are. They're not the measure of our worth. And then there's that inner critic. Oh, it's loud, isn't it? That voice that whispers or maybe even shouts, you can't do it or you're not enough. I want to remind you that voice is not you. It's simply a reflection of doubt and fear. And if you can recognize it as a lie, then you can rise above it. Now, let's talk about comparison. This is something I've seen far too often. When we look around, we see people who seem to have it all, who seem to be achieving things with ease. But here's what I know: when you compare yourself to others, you only rob yourself of joy and strength. There's nothing wrong with admiring others, but please do not let comparison make you forget your own journey. And let's be real about failure. Failure is not the end, it's a step along the path. Every single setback you face is a lesson, a guidepost. There is no failure so big that it defines you forever, unless you let it. If you remember anything from today, let it be this: your life has value exactly as it is. Not when you become better or more successful, but right now, just as you are. I believe in you, and I believe that each of you has the power to silence the lies that hold you back. When we talk about limitations, they often feel like these huge barriers standing between us and what we want. They're the things we can't control, the challenges we didn't ask for, the setbacks that just keep happening. Sometimes limitations look like physical struggles, other times they're mental, emotional, or even external situations that seem impossible to overcome. It's so easy to let them define who we are, to think that our value is somehow lessened because of these struggles. But here's the truth: our limitations are not the full story of who we are. They're only a part of it. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's our identity. People face all kinds of obstacles every day, and yet they keep going. They find ways to push forward, to make a difference, to keep showing up. This isn't because they don't have limitations, it's because they've chosen to look past them, to focus on what they can do rather than what they can't. Our limitations don't limit our capacity for love, kindness, or making a difference. They don't erase our talents, our hopes, or the things that make us unique. Think about it. Some of the most inspiring people in history didn't have easy lives. They didn't have things handed to them. Many of them dealt with major obstacles: poverty, disabilities, rejection, loss. But these things didn't define them. They chose to see their value as something bigger than the challenges they faced, and they showed the world that limitations are not the end of the story. Every one of us has something to offer. Maybe it looks different from the person next to us, and maybe it comes in a way we didn't expect. But we're not here to be limited by the challenges in front of us. Instead, we're here to live beyond them, to prove that there's more to each of us than the limitations that try to hold us back. The inner critic is that persistent, often loud voice that reminds us of every mistake, every perceived flaw, and every fear we have about ourselves. It's that part of us that tells us we're not good enough, not strong enough, or not capable enough. This critic can show up when we're just about to step out of our comfort zone, reminding us of past failures or convincing us that failure is certain. But here's the truth: the inner critic is not a wise advisor or a protective friend. It's an echo of self-doubt, a collection of fears and insecurities that don't reflect who we truly are. If we listen too closely, that voice can control our lives, dictating every choice and holding us back from what we're capable of achieving. The critic thrives on fear, feeding us thoughts that reinforce feelings of inadequacy. It may seem convincing because it knows exactly where we're vulnerable, pointing out weaknesses and exaggerating them until they seem like they define us. But we have to recognize that this voice doesn't speak the truth. It's a reflection of fears, not of facts. Learning to silence the inner critic isn't about ignoring everything it says or pretending we have no fears. It's about questioning that voice, challenging it, and choosing not to let it make our decisions. We can practice recognizing when this critic is speaking, acknowledging that it's there, and then deciding to focus instead on our strengths, our goals, and our dreams. We can choose to replace thoughts of doubt with thoughts of possibility, to think about what we could achieve if we didn't let that critic decide our potential. Silencing the inner critic takes time and persistence. It's about building a habit of responding to it with kindness instead of condemnation. We can remind ourselves that we're allowed to make mistakes and that imperfection doesn't make us unworthy. Each time we choose to turn down the volume of the inner critic, we make room for a voice that encourages, that believes in our strength, that reminds us of the things we've already overcome. By silencing this critic, we give ourselves the freedom to grow, to try, and to experience life without constant self-judgment. We begin to realize that the critic only has power when we listen, and that we are stronger when we choose not to. Comparison is a trap we all fall into at some point, and it often happens almost without thinking. We look around and see what others are doing, what they have, what they've achieved, and before we know it, we're measuring our own worth against their lives. It can be tempting to believe that if someone else is further along or seemingly more successful, it somehow makes us less valuable. But this way of thinking drains our confidence and leaves us feeling inadequate, constantly measuring ourselves against a shifting standard. The truth is, every person's journey is unique, with its own challenges, timelines, and successes. When we compare ourselves to others, we ignore our own individual path and the progress we've made on it. We forget that we're only seeing a small part of other people's lives, often just the highlights, while we're fully aware of all our own struggles, insecurities, and setbacks. Comparison creates an illusion that others have it all figured out, while we're left feeling like we're behind. This illusion chips away at our confidence, making it harder to focus on our own strengths and the goals we're working toward. Each of us has a purpose and a set of abilities that are unique. But when we're constantly looking outward, we miss the opportunity to cultivate what's within us. Comparison distracts us from our progress, the small victories, and the unique value we bring to the world. It leads us to underestimate our potential and waste time trying to match someone else's pace or achievements instead of embracing our own. Confidence grows when we focus on our own journey and appreciate the progress we're making, however slow or small it might seem. It's about recognizing that our worth doesn't come from matching someone else's path. It comes from pursuing our own, with commitment and resilience. We can choose to celebrate others' successes without letting them overshadow our own. Letting go of comparison isn't easy, but each step toward focusing on our own path builds confidence, reminding us that we're enough exactly as we are. Failure is a word that carries a lot of weight. It's often seen as a dead end, a clear sign that we weren't good enough, that we missed the mark, or that we're simply not cut out for something. But failure doesn't have to mean the end of the road. It can mean the beginning of something new, something even better. When we redefine failure, we start to see it as a teacher rather than a verdict. Every failure carries lessons that we couldn't have learned any other way, insights we can use to grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Instead of viewing failure as a reflection of our worth, we can choose to see it as a stepping stone. Each attempt, each setback, each moment that didn't go as planned brings us closer to understanding what we need to do differently. Sometimes what seems like a failure is just a signal that we need to adjust our approach, learn a new skill, or even shift our goals. It's a chance to reflect on what matters to us and where we want to go from here. This shift in perspective transforms failure from something to fear into something we can embrace as part of the journey. When we allow ourselves to fail, we open up a world of possibilities. We give ourselves permission to try new things, to take risks, and to explore paths that might lead somewhere unexpected. Every successful person has faced failure at some point, but they didn't let it define them, they let it refine them. They used it to build resilience, sharpen their focus, and strengthen their resolve. They saw each failure as a necessary part of achieving something meaningful, understanding that the road to success is rarely straight. Redefining failure means recognizing that our worth isn't tied to our mistakes or setbacks. It means giving ourselves grace when things don't go as planned and choosing to move forward anyway. By letting go of the fear of failure, we free ourselves to fully engage with our lives, to pursue our passions wholeheartedly, and to build a life we're proud of, even if it's filled with a few bumps along the way. Failure isn't a final destination, it's a guidepost, pointing us toward the growth and resilience that come only when we're brave enough to keep trying. Embracing your uniqueness means recognizing and celebrating the qualities that make you different from everyone else. In a world that often pushes us to conform, to fit in, or to follow a set path, it can be challenging to see our individuality as something valuable. Yet each of us has a combination of strengths, perspectives, experiences, and talents that no one else has. These qualities are our greatest assets, giving us a distinct way to contribute to the world. When you embrace your uniqueness, you begin to understand that you don't have to be like anyone else to be valuable. There is a freedom in realizing that you don't need to measure up to anyone else's standard of success, beauty, intelligence, or worth. Your journey is your own, and the things that make you different are what will ultimately set you apart. These differences bring new ideas, new solutions, and new perspectives that wouldn't exist without you. Embracing them means accepting and loving every part of yourself, even the parts that might seem unconventional or less understood by others. It can be tempting to hide what makes us different, especially if we've been judged or misunderstood in the past. But when we start to accept ourselves fully, we gain a sense of confidence and authenticity that no one can take away. Being true to who you are invites others to do the same, creating connections that are genuine and meaningful. By embracing your uniqueness, you give yourself permission to explore, to grow, and to make an impact in ways only you can. Rewriting your story means recognizing that your past does not have to dictate your future. Each day offers a new page, a new opportunity to make different choices, to adopt new perspectives, and to step into a more empowered version of yourself. Many of us carry experiences, labels, or mistakes that we think define us, but in reality, these things are just chapters in a much larger story. No matter what's happened before, whether it's pain, loss, failure, or disappointment, you have the power to take control of the narrative from this point forward. When you choose to rewrite your story, you're giving yourself permission to release the parts that no longer serve you. This might mean letting go of self-doubt or choosing to forgive yourself for past mistakes. It might mean setting new goals or redefining what success looks like for you. Often we get caught in cycles of thought that reinforce old patterns, but by recognizing this, we can break free and start living according to our own terms, not the limitations we once believed about ourselves. The beauty of rewriting your story is that it allows you to shape your identity in ways that feel authentic and empowering. You're not limited by others' expectations or the labels they might have placed on you. This process is about taking ownership of your life, understanding that each choice you make is a step toward becoming the person you want to be. Even if you face setbacks or detours, those experiences can become sources of wisdom and strength as you move forward. This journey of change isn't always easy, and it might feel daunting to break away from the familiar. But each small decision to think differently, act courageously, or pursue something new builds momentum. You don't have to be trapped by a story that no longer reflects who you are. Rewriting your story is a journey of self-discovery and growth, and it's a powerful reminder that you're never stuck. You hold the pen, and every moment is an opportunity to write the next chapter with hope, resilience, and purpose. Embrace the chance to make your story something you're proud of, something that reflects the real, incredible you. Don't let past labels define you, because labels are only words that others, or even you yourself, have attached to certain moments in time. They don't capture your whole story, your true potential, or the person you are becoming. Often, labels are formed from others' limited perspectives or judgments based on a single moment, an isolated choice, or a phase of life. But we are constantly growing, evolving, and learning. A label placed on you in the past doesn't have the power to define your present or limit your future unless you allow it to. It's easy to let these labels stick, especially when they've been repeated or when we've begun to believe them ourselves. Sometimes they come from people we trusted or cared about, and their words may have cut deep. Other times, they're words we've internalized due to a mistake or failure, and we let those labels become our identity. But you are far more than any label. You are a full, complex person with the ability to change, to grow, and to redefine yourself. Past mistakes don't make you unworthy, and past setbacks don't make you a failure. Imagine if everyone stayed tied to the labels of their past. So many incredible stories would have never been told, and so many lives would have stayed small. But the truth is, you have the power to release those labels and to step into a new understanding of who you are. It begins with recognizing that the past doesn't have a hold on you unless you let it. Each day, each choice, each new experience adds to who you are, helping you to create a self-definition that is true to your present and future, not your past. Letting go of labels isn't about denying who you were or ignoring what you've been through. It's about seeing beyond them and giving yourself the freedom to evolve. You can redefine yourself based on your values, your goals, and the person you want to be. Don't let anyone's words, judgments, or expectations limit the life you're capable of creating. You're not confined to the boxes that others or even you may have placed around yourself in the past. You are free to break those limits and embrace the limitless potential of your true self. Choosing faith over fear means deciding to trust in a future that hasn't yet unfolded, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. Fear often arises in those moments when we feel vulnerable or doubt our ability to overcome the challenges in front of us. It's the voice that tells us to hold back, to stay where it's safe, to avoid risks. But faith is about believing in possibilities, believing that things can work out, that we are capable of handling whatever comes, and that there is a purpose in every experience, even if we don't fully understand it yet. When we let fear lead, it becomes a barrier that stops us from growing, exploring, and stepping into our true potential. Fear can hold us in place, convincing us that change is too hard or that failure is inevitable. But faith invites us to look beyond the immediate risks and to trust that there is more to the story. Faith gives us the courage to move forward even when we don't have all the answers or when the situation feels overwhelming. It's a choice to believe that there is strength within us and that the journey with all its ups and downs is worth it. Faith is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep going in spite of it. It's about recognizing that fear is normal, that it shows up for everyone, and that it doesn't have to be the final word. By choosing faith, we shift our focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. We begin to see challenges as opportunities and setbacks as lessons, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, brings us closer to the life we envision. Living with faith over fear doesn't mean every path will be smooth or that challenges will disappear. But it means that we approach life with a sense of trust in ourselves, in the journey, and in the idea that growth often happens outside our comfort zone. Faith reminds us that we are resilient, that we are capable, and that even in the hardest moments there is hope. When we choose faith over fear, we empower ourselves to create a life led by purpose, courage, and the belief that anything is possible. Loving yourself through the journey means giving yourself the grace, patience, and kindness you deserve as you navigate through life's ups and downs. It's easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when we make mistakes, fall short of our expectations, or face challenges that feel overwhelming. We often find it easier to show love and compassion to others than we do to ourselves. But self-love is essential, not just in moments of triumph, but in moments of struggle as well. It's about acknowledging that you are worthy of care and understanding, no matter where you are in your journey. The journey of life isn't always smooth. It's filled with twists, turns, and detours that we often didn't plan for. But loving yourself through it means accepting that things won't always go as expected, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect to deserve love. You don't need to have everything figured out to be worthy of respect and care. Loving yourself is a commitment to being there for yourself in the same way you would be there for a close friend who's struggling. It's giving yourself permission to rest when you're tired, to cry when you need to, and to ask for help when it feels overwhelming. It also means forgiving yourself. We all make mistakes, and sometimes we carry guilt or regret from decisions we've made in the past. But loving yourself means understanding that mistakes don't define you. They're part of learning, growing, and becoming the person you're meant to be. You are more than any choice you regret, more than any failure. True love for yourself comes in the form of letting go of past mistakes and embracing who you are becoming. As you move through the journey, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism or to get caught up in comparison to others. But the journey you're on is uniquely yours, and your pace is just as important as your destination. Loving yourself means trusting that every step, every stumble, and every victory is part of the larger story of your life. It's about recognizing that the road isn't linear, that growth often takes time, and that you are deserving of love through every season, whether you're in a season of success, struggle, or self-discovery. The more you love yourself, the more you begin to believe in your own worth and potential. Self-love nurtures resilience, encourages you to take risks, and helps you navigate challenges with a sense of confidence. It gives you the strength to face each day with the understanding that you are enough exactly as you are, and that your journey is valuable no matter where it leads. Love yourself through it all, because you deserve it, and you are worthy of the beautiful life you are creating. In the end, the journey we take in life is uniquely our own, shaped by the choices we make and the way we respond to challenges. Along the way, it's easy to let fear, self-doubt, or the labels of the past define us, but we must remember that we have the power to rewrite our story. We don't have to be defined by our limitations, and we certainly don't have to let comparisons rob us of our confidence. We are not bound by the failures we face, but instead we can choose to see them as stepping stones on our path toward growth. Embracing our uniqueness, silencing the inner critic, and holding on to faith through the struggles are the keys to discovering the strength within us all. It's through these choices that we build the life we want, a life led by purpose and self-love. As we move forward, let us love ourselves through the journey, the highs and the lows, the moments of certainty and uncertainty. For in doing so, we not only honor who we are today, but we also create the foundation for the person we are becoming. Remember, you are more than your past, your fears, or the labels others have placed on you. You are capable of greatness, and the world needs your authentic self. So go ahead and step into your journey with faith, courage, and love, knowing that you are worthy of every beautiful moment that awaits. Keep moving forward, for the best chapters of your story are still to come.